there, Riderflex Nation. Steve Urban here with more career advice and job interviewing tips for you. And as a quick reminder, if you enjoy our podcast, please remember to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes. And on today's podcast, I had a mentor tell me one time, he said, Steve, after you turn 55, nobody gives a crap. What he meant was we were talking about his career, and I think he was, 56, 57 at the time, and he had lost his job and was trying to find yet another role, and he was super frustrated, and that was his line to me. He said, just remember, when you turn 55, nobody cares anymore. His point was once you get to be an older candidate or more senior in your career, nobody really cares what you did back when you were 35 or 40. You know, all those big accomplishments you had 10, 15 years ago aren't really relevant today, so nobody cares anymore, was his point. Well, I want to encourage older job seekers listening to this podcast. You know, I think people do care. They do care about what you've accomplished, and it does mean something, but you got to get your mind right for the place you're at in life and with your career. You know, there's only so many executive jobs, right? I mean, really, just think about it. You know, there's a lot more director level jobs than there are CEO jobs. There's a lot more manager jobs than there are director jobs. And there's a lot more associate level jobs than there are managers, right? Just as you move down the list in the organizational chart, you know, the smaller the responsibility, usually the more positions. And so it's a numbers game, right? I mean, as you get older, there are only so many executive jobs, and quite frankly, you know, they're going to be eaten up by people that are in the prime of their career, whatever that might be. And I know that the prime of your career is debatable. That age range is debatable. But it's going to be eaten up with the 40, 45-year-olds, 35-year-olds sometimes, et cetera, and 50-year-olds. And so, you know, once you get to be up there like my buddy was, my mentor, I think he was 57 at the time, you know, sometimes you're going to struggle because companies are going to – they're not supposed to, right? We all know that there should not be any age discrimination, et cetera, and there's all kinds of rules and regulations against that. But unfortunately, it does happen. And so I just want to encourage everybody to kind of understand where you're at in life. Most of you listening to this podcast that are in that situation, you probably had some big-time responsibility. You probably had a big-time job at some point. You were either a CEO or a director or a VP or an executive. I mean, you did that, right? You checked that off your bucket list. You spent many years with all that responsibility, you know, all that stress that you had. You did that already. So if you're a little bit older in your career, if you don't have to, why do that again? I mean, go ahead and tell everybody on your LinkedIn profile you're looking for a lower level role. Be open about it. You know, tell recruiters, tell employers, hey, listen, you know, I did the executive vice president role for a Fortune 500 company for 20 years. I did that. I'm not looking for that. I'm not ready to retire. So I still want to be active and I still want to contribute and I still feel like I have a lot of value to add. But I don't have to have the VP role. I'm happy to play a smaller position on the team. I mean, use a sports analogy, right? I mean, think about sports as players get older. Let's use football, for example. You know, a lot of times older football players, they end up taking a backup role and they still contribute. They still add value. Maybe it's from the sidelines holding a clipboard, but they're still giving value. So, you know, you're not going to be the starting quarterback forever. Is my point. And so it kind of accept that, learn how you can enjoy life now with the work-life balance you have, find some hobbies, you know, take some joy in the fact that you don't have the major stress of being the CEO, relax a little bit, and take something at a lower responsibility. Stop waiting around for yet another executive job at the same level you've always had, and then getting all pissed off and frustrated because you can't find that, and take something at a lower level and start enjoying life and maybe go fishing a little bit more. And there is your Riderflex tip of the day. We truly hope you find our material helpful and entertaining. And while our podcast can be heard across most platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud, you can become a supporter of this podcast by visiting our show on the platform Anchor FM. That's anchor.fm/Riderflex. You can also send us your questions or suggested topics for future episodes to the email address podcast@riderflex.com, or drop us a voicemail at 888-964-5876, extension 710. Visit riderflex.com to learn more about us. Thanks so much for listening, folks, and have a great day.